Hello, fellow watchers and enjoyers. It is I, Piggy, and I am joined here by Ash. It is episode
Hello.
It is episode 112. Today's episode we're going to cover the biggest storylines and takeaways from week 8 of 2025. All the episodes from the 17th of the 2nd.
2020 what?
2025.
2025.
The 17th of the 2nd, 2025. All the way to the 20th of the 2nd, 2025. There you go, there's your clip, 2025.
My clips of standards, mate.
Thank you. Now, if you don't know, this is going to have introduction, 30 minutes. It might not be 30 minutes. Okay, we are tired.
Yeah. I'll immediately stress. Also, let's just make it fully clear. The first 30 minutes is fully optional. The first 30 minutes is us talking to each other about nonsense. It doesn't matter what it is. We talk about something for the first little segment of the podcast. It's how we've always done it. It's how we'll always continue to do it. Just got a comment last week which was like, you guys, we have to wait 30 minutes to get to the actual EastEnders. Like, you don't have to watch it, boys. Like, there's chapters for a reason. Just skip through it.
And then the following chapters, all out of whack, is Phil Mitchell struggles, Cindy and Ian face off, Sonia has a showdown with Reese, aka Bathgate, and Martin is the dead body. Sadly, no Ruby Allen special, but we'll try and sneak one in at the very end. And then there's obviously the awards. It's going to be very tiring. It's going to be a very tiring award, but yeah, it's going to be weird because I have to talk about like the EastEnders again, even though I talked about it all week. So yeah, it's
I don't even know how many hours of content we've made around the EastEnders this week, but it's been a lot. So yeah, this podcast is going to be very laboured. Also, I did just help my sister move, so my body is absolutely sore. I'm feeling the strain. But I mean, look, it was a good week. First and foremost, I suppose the one thing we can talk about just in our thing, we could probably talk about our lovely little live streams that we've been doing this week to mark the occasion.
Go on.
Yeah. So obviously this week we proceeded to, because at Christmases in the past and in general, we've always tried to do the live elements. We've always tried to do the live episodes just because it's a cool way to bring everybody together. And if you're not watching them with someone else and you're just like us who typically watches EastEnders alone, you know, it's nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. So we decided we were going to live stream the whole week of episodes. And it kind of managed to be, it managed to sink its way up quite nicely. But all in all, we had a pretty baller time with the live streams. They all went pretty well. My internet struggling aside. But no, it was a really cool way to chat with everyone. We're probably gonna, at some point when we're not absolutely destroyed, figure out a way if we can kind of try do some more live stuff every now and then. Not that there's much of a difference between us live and us like without live elements, but live elements. See, I'm getting the terminology down, just like 2015. But yeah, maybe sometime if the episode permits, if it's a big deal. It's just one of those weird things where you don't want to do it too often because nobody's going to show up. So it has to fit with the schedule, and it has to kind of have the occasion. Otherwise, you know, it's just gonna. There's just no real point, honestly. But how'd you find doing the live streams?
Well, thank you for asking, Mr. AquaDreams. I enjoyed doing the live streams. It was fun. It was fun. It was better than Christmas because Christmas it was only like me and Michael Sharp and you, and
Yes.
maybe Flora. And it was just like it wasn't really much. And then there was some reason for the 40th. Like we opened the door and like 60 people or 10 people came in, and I was like, what the hell? Who
Yeah,
are you?
we had like at the end we had like 50 people in. It's like, bloody hell, what's happening here?
Yeah, it was quite a shock to me. I never had 50 people in a live stream before. Ashley actually has. So it was
That's a flex. I didn't even do it myself.
exactly. So yeah, it was an interesting thing. Like it was very. I enjoyed it. I think it was Michael Sharp. left me a lovely comment saying, "Peggy, you might be shite, but you're all shite," and I appreciate that comment to my heart. When I'm dead and gone, I'm gonna put that on my tombstone, my gravestone, tombstone, whatever. I really enjoyed doing it, like covering. Like I think my favorite time was doing the Wednesday episode, and then just seeing the Bathgate has a stub with Reese Bear at the bath. If you don't know, falls on him. We'll obviously talk about him. I'll talk about him more later on. Probably just going to be me recapping for the next hour, and then Ash just chiming in when he wants to chime in. Honestly, so yeah, be prepared for that. No, not a dig at him. It's just he's a bit clean crackered. So just let him be. Yeah,
Silently nodding.
Yeah, he's silently nodding. So yeah, I just my estimate guess of what I wanted to do is since now this won't really take effect till like September, so ignore me. But I just if we ever since we like do the Christmas stuff in September, we're not like we're not cream crackered for December. Like we watch all the Christmases we have to. We might make a cheeky live stream where you people can chime in if you want. But again, we'll discuss that more when we get to that season. Just Piggy always thinks ahead, you know. I was just thinking about like what.
I always thinks ahead with mostly nonsense. Like there's always the best thing for this is when it was the end of the year and I'm like, all right, Piggy, what content do you want to do this year? And I'm like, all right, all these ideas, you know, some scripted stuff. Here's what you're going to do. Piggy goes, I want to release a video on the leap year. Yeah, all right, sound. You're going to do exactly what I was looking for here.
Yeah, I
think ahead.
Yeah, I do think ahead. See, Ash is just thinking about his peanut butter sandwich he's going to have later on. And I'm thinking about...
It's all gone, mate. It's all gone. It's tragedy.
No. I'll buy a big tub, don't you worry.
No, don't. We're not on speaking terms anymore, me and the peanut butter.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me and you are on speaking terms. It's like, we're doing a podcast. What are you on about?
Imagine just dropping that. Whoa, we're not on speaking terms. What do you mean? Look, I know when it's time to stop. And peanut butter is I finished off the jar. I'm not getting any more. It's dangerous, man. It's dangerous stuff. You suddenly go from eating nothing in the morning to being like, I need peanut butter sandwich now. Fucking hell, all right then. Crunchy, of course. You know, good flavour, good taste. Don't really like texture in my food that well. Don't really like, you know, like weird it's an autism thing. Blame the autism. But, you know, a bit of like, you know, you get some little crunchy bits in there. It's like what with orange juice. If any of like the any of the bits in orange juice get your throat it's like if you're rolling a doobie and a bit of like tobacco like gets in your mouth. Oh God, what is that? What are we even talking about?
Nothing.
Oh yeah. At the end of the day, we'll try and do more live stuff if the schedule and if the occasion permits. Pretty much.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'll do stuff for some of the like. I tried to. It does happen sometimes in the year, like later in the year. Typically, after the like Britain's Got Talent final, like Coronation Street and Emmerdale have their big soap weeks. I've covered them in the past. Maybe I'll do it again in the future. But yeah, it's fun. It's a cool way because you know I've done a decent amount of live streams in my life. I've got like 70 days worth of my life of live streaming, which is kind of nutty. But it's a completely different beast when it's about the EastEnders. So it is really cool to just have a really excited group of people all in one place, and it's also a nice like breath of fresh air. Because everybody in Coronation Street is like, oh, fucking hell. All right. And, they're doing another live episode. They're obviously Coronation Street and doing anything live, but you know. Look at this. Look at this week's episodes, guys. That was really fun. Look at how he fell. Wasn't that really good? Was it really good how he fell like a fucking doll over a railing? Yeah. So it's nice to be surrounded by all the positive stuff and not not all the other noise in the space right now, simply because Coronation Street isn't really in a good place right now.
Yeah, I seen the video Ash put out about Coronation Street, and yeah,
Popped off as well, went crazy. I
it,
wasn't even intending it to.
I can't really judge. I don't watch that crap. So that being the Coronation Street, not Ash's solo videos. But yeah,
Very on the channel.
Ash failed to realise that he has to help me do the spoiler videos after this. So
Nah, see ya.
well,
See ya.
well, yeah, you're stuck here, mate. Don't you bloody worry.
See ya.
But yeah, just yeah. Do you think we can do more? I think we're definitely going to cover the British Soap Awards. The Soap Awards, BAFTAs, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
The ITV one in May. That definitely might happen. We would have done one last year, but well,
they postponed the last one.
Yeah, they postponed the last one
because Coronation Street was struggling. Just as EastEnders kind of went into its renaissance period. It's like, bloody hell.
They
just don't want to give EastEnders all the awards. Okay.
But do you reckon they'll get all the awards this year?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. No way they don't. Like, the closest... Well, actually, it depends what the time scale is. Because Hollyoaks probably did one of their best storylines ever. So, I don't know. There's some pretty stiff competition, in my opinion. In terms of awards, Hollyoaks gets a good chunk of the awards, but also it has been hampered by all of the upheaval that they had to go through and all the changes. So, like, I don't know. As a whole, I don't know why I'm having this conversation with myself now, but like, I don't even know what I'd give best soap for like this last period. I don't even know. Like, it's up in the air. All I know is Coronation Street, isn't it? And I say that I've been ragging on it, of course, but I do still like the show. I've kind of gone backwards. Like, yes, I did make all the videos saying Coronation Street's dying, blah blah blah. But even now, I'm looking and people are absolutely just slaughtering it. And I'm like, bloody hell, guys, it's not that bad. It's not great, but it's not as bad as everybody makes it sound like.
Yeah, I can't really judge, really. I can't. I just sit here as an observer to EastEnders. I just, whatever Coronation Street opinions Ash has, I just slowly nod and agree. I watched The Fall because Ash showed me it and I laughed. I had a ha-ha chuckle. It was good. Good crack. No, excuse me. Oh, Jesus. Why does my dad buy me a chicken fillet roll? Jeez, this is not going well. But I don't know what else to talk about. I think we might just call it early and just...
How deep are we in?
We're 14 minutes in. We might as well.
Oh Jesus!
Ash, there's no point.
It's lock in, boys.
There's no
lock in.
There's no point. Let's just start the EastEnders. Let's just...
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that. So
let's just make it fully on the record though. Yes, we've had a very busy week. We've had a very busy week. We've covered everything to the utmost detail we can. I've still done a Hollyoaks and Coronation Street video. We've covered all of the episodes of EastEnders. We reacted to them, and we made Walford on Taps about all of them. So, if this is a bit of a shorter one, it's not like we're being lazy.
We are, but still, that's beside the point. Okay, what timestamp would I make? 50, 14:50. Here we go. Might as well. Now, guns. Are they good? Are they bad? Well, if you're Phil, it's very bad. As I'll get to Cindy in a moment, but Phil in Monday's episode is really struggling. He's not doing too well. His poor Phil. Grant is like your elderly dad who's not really hip at the times because he's like, Nigel, why did you call me back here? And Nigel's like, do you not see, Grant? And Grant's like, I'm great with an iron. Let's go. And it's like, and I'm great with my fist. What does that mean? And like Phil has left letters out to all his family, being Sharon, Grant, Nigel, and Louise. I believe none for Ben, thank God.
I don't think they didn't explicitly say who. We know that Grant and Sharon had one, but and probably Nigel, but we don't know who. I don't know. I don't remember if they showed the last name, but also doesn't matter that much.
And well, Cindy obviously gets Phil's gun and she goes to use it. She uses it, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. And then like Phil's like, "Where's my gun?" He breaks into Junior's flat. She's not there. She meets Cindy on the street. Cindy gives him the gun. Phil sits in the garage by himself, and I know people don't want to say it, but it was actually just the same second of him kicking the door. But I don't imagine that. As Grant, Linda, and Nigel come in, as Phil is also there at a point, and he's buggered off by this point. So he's in the garage, and I know people are going to go, but it was just the same moment. I like to think Grant was stuck there, booting in the door for a solid 5 minutes.
Oh, it feels like he was there for a good chunk of time. Like he did at least 20 kicks on that door. But this is ahead of the only person who actually sees Phil struggling is Linda somehow. Like the only person who, and maybe it's because she's not been around, so she can tell that something's off about him. Whereas for everybody else, it probably happened a bit more gradually, other than Grant, who's just useless. But with that, they kind of quickly realizes that, we should check on Phil. She goes to Phil's house to look for him, finds his sorry letters, finds his notes as to why he was going to take his life. And at that point, she goes, "We need to fucking find Phil. Why are you not looking for him? We need to find him." And that's when Grant starts booting down the Archer's door.
He's probably only been there for 30 seconds, but God did it feel like he was there for 30 minutes.
I mean, it also built up to the tension, right? Because we could kind of see Phil. He could obviously hear what was going on, and he was just kind of, he was going back and forth about whether to pull the trigger, for the lack of better phrasing.
But my favorite visual is obviously he's holding the gun, like he's just holding the gun, and so you don't cut between, but you just hear Grant kicking the door, and that's like he wants to scream enough, but he can't, and it's just so funny. Grant just booting the door, and feels, God, it's just one bullet.
He is battling with himself so much.
Yeah, and then
to just not just be like, "Guys, fuck off, leave me alone."
Do you reckon did Grant boot in the door? That's my question. Did he actually boot in the door, or did Phil unlock it?
No. Well, he did. As in the story, he booted in the door, but
yeah, I know in the story he booted in the door. I was just confused if he actually did in the story boot the door.
But he wouldn't have just kicked off the door or the hinges.
He did kick a metal door, so. I hope Ross Kemp wore his steel-toe cat boots. I have 2 pairs of steel-toe cat boots.
Some say he got paid per kick.
Hold on, lads.
That's why it went on so long.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 50.
Just like stunt doubles in soap, you get paid per per take. So a stunt double never really gets it done first time. But we've got to do it again. I messed it up. We've been going for 70 takes now. Yeah, just one more. No. Getting that hourly rate up.
Yeah, and then obviously he comes in, and then Grant's like, "You don't have to do this, bruv." And then obviously
Grant tries to wrestle the gun off of him as well, which is a questionable decision, but it is Grant. He has his tendencies.
And then obviously we got a comment because we were like, "Grant's never said bruv." And then some guy went, "Well, actually in the 90s he did." I'm like, "Yeah, I was watching in the 90s, thanks." So yeah, he just says, "You know what to do with this, bruv." And then like he wrestles the gun off Phil. He gets the gun off Phil, and then he goes outside. And then Nigel follows him outside, and Grant's like, why doesn't he just man up about his feelings? Just man up and go over it. And I just like, just talk to him like a brother. Will you, for fuck's sake, you fucking idiot. And
I mean, I've seen a lot. Yeah, sure, it is a frustrating thing, but we have to remember with Grant, Grant was still in the same. He was brought up in the same house. Like he was brought up with the same dad who would never allow you to talk about his feelings. Like, you know, people being like, "Oh, why's Grant so ignorant?" It's like, 'cause he's his brother. They were both raised in this toxic masculinity mess. It's just that Grant was a bit more forthcoming about it because he couldn't hide his feelings as well, pretty much. Like, but he still has PTSD and trauma. Like, it's like, yes, it is frustrating, and it is incredibly frustrating as to how long it took for anybody to actually pay attention to Phil and his feelings. But at the same time, first, it does happen as people just, you know, people you can just slowly withdraw yourself from everyone, and people won't really pay attention if you do it slowly. I mean, it does happen. It's just I've been withdrawn completely from everyone at points in my path. Doesn't mean people stop me when, "Are you doing okay?" It's only till I really like add a breakdown that suddenly I couldn't hide it anymore. And that's kind of what happened with Phil, really, where at the end of the day, he's slowly just withdrawn from everybody's lives. No one's really caring anymore. They just think he's getting old and grumpy. Like, why would we give a shit, and why would we care about him? He's like pushed us all away. So it does make sense as to why people wouldn't really notice that Phil's been struggling. And even then, so like it's not really like Sharon is with Teddy now at the end of the day. She can't really keep hanging around Phil as much as she is, but yeah, everybody has been a bit of a nuisance around her. But yeah, Nigel just tells him, "Look, mate, be there. You need to tell him you know what he's going through. You need to tell him that you understand and you need to listen." But Grant, instead of doing that, just goes and tries to play hero, whilst Linda actually sits him down, and they both kind of go, "Look, you guided me through how it was when I was at my worst, and now I'm here to help you. Like, what have you been going through?" And he finally kind of snaps and says all the like, "Look, I've always struggled to be the man that everybody makes me out to be. You know, I'm not that Phil Mitchell anymore. I'm not the governor. I'm not the head of the empire. I don't have it in me anymore." And it is kind of he is now an old dog. Like I highly doubt we ever see the bravado macho Phil Mitchell again. Like, yeah, he'll still be similar, but are we going to see the scenes where he's throwing people around and threatening people? Probably not nearly as much, because it's that natural transition, and I think this is definitely it. But yeah, and then just in the end, Nigel says, "Look, I've called someone from a mental health team." Everybody joking, "Bloody, you got a mental health team in 30 minutes? Oh, can we get some of this in the UK, please? Can we get some of this? Got people waiting for years." That's a different problem entirely, but and he doesn't want to see help, and I think that's when Nigel kind of finally tells him the truth.
yeah, Nigel just tells him, "Look, I have dementia, mate," and Phil's like, "Oh yeah," and he's like, "Just grow up, Phil." He doesn't say grow up. He's like, "Phil, I've dementia. You know, things are what." Sorry to get the correct term. He's early onset dementia, and he's like, "Phil, just like I have dementia. Please just listen to this." And Phil's like, "All right," and he does.
Yeah, I made the kind of statement that revelation that his best friend has dementia, that to me is probably the first time in months that Phil Mitchell has actually been present in the room. Like it kind of snaps him out, because when you get depressed, you get into like a bit of like a haze, or you can kind of feel a bit like a zombie where you are there, but like everything's dead behind the eyes. right? Or at least maybe I'm putting too much of my own experience in this, but you can feel so out of it and so like you are there, but you don't have the energy to even consider, like you don't have the energy to actually put forward. And for the first time in a long time, Phil Mitchell is present in that conversation, like just kind of realizing, oh shit, this sucks. And this kind of Nigel's just like, look, you need to look. I'm trying to be strong, but I need you to help me be strong. And they kind of they somewhat bond and make like waves into getting help. And at this point, Phil kind of starts to think this is when the mental health team kind of comes on in, and he then talks about how he's been hearing voices and he's been seeing things that aren't there, and he knows they're not there, but he can't like stop the feelings and he can't stop how he's dealing with it. And in the end, Phil has been sectioned and he's put into a mental health hospital, which is it's just a wild turn of events. Like if you thought of this in like 20 years ago, it'd be like, what? Phil Mitchell? No way. It's really interesting how they've taken the direction of the character.
Yeah, and I'll quickly, Ash is pretty much summed up Phil's bit. He saved me a job. I'll just quickly run through Grant.
I suppose one minor thing that I would just to manifest this. I'm manifesting this. That's the only reason. I know I've been putting the feelers out, and people are getting quite excited at the idea. And we're also scratching at claws because Shirley Carter was confirmed that she was going to return at some point, and it's been a long time since that was. But the last we knew of Shirley, she was in a mental health hospital, struggling. That's what we heard from Dean. Is there any world where Phil and Shirley managed to end up in the same place? Or isn't that exciting? I don't know if it'll happen, fully speculation, but that sounds fucking juicy.
Yeah, and just very quickly, Grant runs into the fire. There was a Queen Pick fire, we'll get to that in a moment. He runs into the fire, he saves Sharon. Sharon, who also sees Angie Watts, which was fantastic. It was fantastic to see Annie Dobson return. Hopefully people don't do what they did with Fat Boy, and it's like, is he going to return in? Actually, no, it's only a vision.
Yeah, obviously this was her fully trapped under the rubble. Like Sharon went under the radar, really. Like Sharon was she was trapped under there for like a good episode or two, just dying. She was just dying. But yeah, we see Angie Watts all dressed up, and like Anita Dobson, she fully snapped back into the role like no time has passed. Like she's not played Angie Watts since what, like 88?
Mm-hmm.
Roughly. That's a long fucking time. That's a long time between drinks. And like she looked the part, she played it well, just kind of gave Sharon like a look, you're doing really well, but I need you to fight for me type deal. Because obviously it's her subconscious being like, if you don't get help, you're gonna die. And so in the end she ends up like kind of shouting for help, and that is where Grant kind of comes on in. And it's an interesting like dynamic as well, in multiple different ways. First, Grant avoiding dealing with his emotions by trying to be the hero, trying to get glory in a different way, which is just kind of textbook like toxic masculinity. And then you get the juxtaposition of Grant, who selflessly went in to try and save someone, ended up saving Sharon, and then you have Teddy, who was just called in a paramedic to take a look at Barney, who may have been slightly hurt in the explosion, slightly hurt, and he gets a paramedic away from the Vic, away from the rescuing of all the people, to look at his son. And then he sees Grant, and he's like a little schoolboy. Oh, hello, I'm Teddy. And he's a poser.
Okay.
He's old Teddy Mitchell.
Okay. Next up, Cindy and Ian have a face-off. No, they don't kiss. They just have a face off. And let me just quickly. What's the timestamp for this? Yeah, Cindy has a face off with Ian. What do I mean by that? Well, like I mentioned earlier, Cindy has got a gun. In Monday's episode, Billy and Honey's wedding went off without a hitch. Everything went fine. Nothing bad happened, Ash. Nothing bad happened. Totally. And what happened in between? Well, it's simple. Well, Cindy just stormed in to the fake and went, Ian, look, gonna be honest with you. You never looked in my eyes when we had sex just to see how bored I am. And like, it ultimately ruins Ian. And then you also have she also like just is a bitch to everyone, and she blames everyone. And then she obviously
you describe Cindy's time on the show with that just one phrase.
And then obviously she gets the gun from Phil. Well, she steals the gun. She doesn't get the gun. And then she sees someone with the locket. She goes in. Well,
it's just the whole point is she's there to find out who was the locket, and therefore whoever has the locket was the one who attacked her. So in that case, she went back to the house, understanding that whoever has the locket's probably, I don't know. There is a setup for whoever has the locket is at the Beals, and she approaches with a gun. And who has the locket? It's Ian, and he's like doing the dangling that locket like it's no tomorrow. And Cindy rushed him with a gun, threatening to shoot, threatening to end his life in a video game. And Ian confesses, look, it wasn't me, it was Peter. And at this point in time, I cheered my little heart out because I'd clearly gotten the prediction correct. But as it escalates, Kathy comes into the room, and Kathy says, look, it was me. I attacked you with that shovel. And everybody at this point is kind of like, is it actually Kathy though? Like, in terms of a reveal, basically, it somewhat came out of left field in a way, because everybody, honestly, I heard nobody predicting Kathy whatsoever. Could be wrong. I've not been on the subreddit that much these days, so I don't entirely have as much of a vague, broad understanding. But I didn't see many people predicting Kathy, even though it seemed like she was probably the perfect candidate. She has no real ties to Cindy other than Ian and the grandkids. But at the end of the day, if there's one person who hates Cindy to the absolute core, it's Kathy Cotton. So it's delicious. And it was later confirmed that yes, she did attack Ian. Then comes a scuffle where Cindy shoots the gun, and honestly, the way it was shot, it looked like Ian took a bullet to the face. It looked like he took a bullet to the ear or something. But in the end, he just took a bullet to the arm, just like Keanu should have been dispatched. Bullet to the arm, he would have stopped.
Yeah. And then Reese, who's coming up next, like literally, we're breezing through this. I can get through this in a minute. Cindy like goes out to the street and he's like, I'll pay you off. Like, come on, we make a deal. And then Cindy says, "God to hell, Ian!" And she pushes Ian in front of a car that's moving, that crashes into Queen Vic because he diverted. I'm not going to say who it is, but we're getting onto that topic now in a minute.
But yeah, it was a big deal. So we're still arguing it, and how Cindy was somehow still the victim despite Ian shooting her. I mean, despite her shooting Ian. And even then, so it's like, you drove me to this, Ian. You basically pulled that trigger. Oh. And finally, it comes to a head. Kathy, Ian, and Cindy are all sat like, I think it's roughly like it's outside the Beals like home, and an oncoming vehicle. And Cindy just says, "Goodbye, Ian." Push. Sends him flying into the road right in front of that vehicle.
Yeah, and well, I guess it's time, because Sonia has a showdown with Reese. Let me just very quickly do this. With Reese. Yeah, so what do I mean by Sonia had a showdown with Reese? Well, it's simple, really. Um, so Sonia and Bianca go to the wedding, and then Bianca's like, I'm going back to the house, Sonia." And then she goes back to the house. She has a lovely cup in her tracksuit, and then the door unlocks, and it's like, who could that be? Could it be Pauline? Could it be Arthur? Could it be Dot? No, 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 they're not coming back. It's Reese, and he has my favorite bit is she opens the door, and like in Spider-Man 1 where where Peter Parker's on the roof, they're trying to or on the ceiling because they're trying to make sure he doesn't get spotted as Spider-Man, and he just moves around. That was Reese because he was hid behind the door, and Bianca just looks at the cards like, who bloody left this? And then Reese just goes, "I hear congratulations is in order."
He doesn't say that. Yeah, no, he is. He's given the card, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. And then I know the Reese storyline. Come on, mate, give me some slack. And then Bianca's like, well, what the f are you doing here, Reese? You think Sonia's gonna believe you? And he's like, so Sonia loves me. She will. Yeah. And Bianca's, no, she won't. And then she's like, I'm gonna call the police, Reese. And Reese's like, why? And it's, you killed Debbie. You locked me up in a storage unit. And my favourite bit is when Bianca's on the phone, he grabs the phone out of her hand and just grabs it and twats it into the sitting room floor, like just throws it into the sitting room floor, onto the sitting room floor, and he runs off. So he gets into a car, and Bianca's trying to wrestle with him, like trying to stop him getting in the car. She falls, but he absolutely sends her flying. And then yes, this is where he speeds. Excuse me. This is where he speeds, and he can't escape the square. And then Cindy pushes in front of the car. Reese comes flying around the corner. Like first to the last second. Would you know there's some propane tanks in the oh excuse me. There is some propane tanks in the Vic. And the entire Vic goes up as Reese crashes his car, his old Volvo. And yeah, the whole place goes up. George gets Reese out and he's like, you stay there, man. And Reese, my dad
leaves.
had a critic. What?
Reese leaves.
My dad had a bit of a gripe because he was like, how did Reese get behind the bin? Like, we didn't see him. How did he get behind the bin in such a short notice? Like, literally, it's about 10 seconds in between George.
I mean, we didn't see he was at the bin like much later on.
So where do you
Like
think he
we
went?
didn't see he fucked off, and then like an episode or so passed where Grant's breaking in, then we see him behind the bin.
Yeah, but no. My dad's question was like, how did he escape so quickly?
It's Reese. Yeah, superhuman powers. He's a slasher villain apparently.
I can't wait for that horror movie when he's in the public domain in like 21. But yeah. So Reese escapes. George says, "We got to get out of here now!" And Ian's like, "What?" And George grabs him, and they do like aim for the bushes scene, where they jump and the explosion goes off. The whole building collapses. Like the fucking like bedroom goes flying in, or the sitting caves in, or the kitchen, one or the other.
Yeah, the top floor of the Vic at one end it does cave in fully.
Yeah, and then like following on, there's a bunch of people trapped, but we'll get to that when we get to Martin. And then Bianca goes in with Grant, and we see Reese behind the bin. Obviously, Grant then rescues Sharon, and Teddy just looks like a sad schoolboy, just like, bloody hell, couldn't do that myself. And then Bianca goes in and saves Sonia, or goes to see Sonia, who's about to give birth. And then, what does Reese say when he comes in?
I don't know, mate.
He says like, "Congratulations." And
see, this is where I thought he said congratulations are in order.
That's probably where he said it. I probably mixed it up. Probably said something different in Monday's episode. But yeah, or Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So yeah,
This is where I think he says congratulations are in order.
And then he basically Bianca shoves him with a rolling pin, he he falls back. A pipe nearly hit him on the head. He falls to the ground, and then I'm gonna let you do your impression of him, Ash.
Yeah, the pipe hits him and just goes, "Oh, I thought, no, that was a close one." It's
As
and then suddenly, boom! Bath to the fucking head. He's taken a bath straight to the bonnet. He's dead. Reese is dead. He's dead as fuck.
we in the
In the video game.
in the reaction said that it should have been Debbie in the bat, like Homer when he's dropping
Should
the
have been
bomb.
Brenda in the bath.
Oh, Brenda. What did I say?
Debbie.
Oh, yeah, it should have been Brenda in the bat. It's like bombs away. Yeah, honestly, however this is remembered, I want people just to remember that there was a character in Soap killed by a bath, not in the bath, by a bath. But yeah, he gets absolutely.
And also, it's also like there's some nice parallels. Debbie, pretty like in a sense, died in the bath, where she, like, life as she knew it was over for her. And at the end of the day, fundamentally, it's probably one of the funniest soap deaths of all time. Like, it's perfectly done. It envelops the character to such an extent because Reese was never like he was scary in glimpses, but fundamentally he was a bumbling oaf of an idiot. And so to get the most confusing plotline of Reese and his arc and it to end in an absolute like stupid, ridiculous mess, it is the perfect exit for the character. And as I said, probably one of the funniest deaths in soap history. And like intentionally as well. Not like ironically. It's not like, oh, that was shit, that. Like genuinely funny, like by choice.
And then, yeah, Sonia. So, can you do the Sharon line for me? The Sharon line that she says to Zach.
Get your knickers on. You're having a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sonia goes to have the baby. This is where I said some comments about the pantaloons. I'm not going to repeat here. But I did
to
see
be fair, it has taken over. It has taken over. Everybody's discussing about Lauren sniffing the pants. So
she did sniff them. She might just
look. Jacqueline Josser claims it hit her on the head, so she was just making sure they got out of shot.
Is that what she said?
That's what she said.
Oh, I can't believe I can't believe I got that famous over it. Wow.
Not just you who's seen it. I won't lie to you, mate.
I know. Can I not have something from this channel, please? Can I please have something? Can I please just have something?
Yes, you caused it. It was yours.
Thank you. The pantaloons, I will take it. And then Sonia gives birth. But my favorite bit is Bianca goes to like Lawrence. Yeah, you go down there. And I was, no, why should I? And then
Bianca, I'm a sister. You're a cousin. What's the family tree got to do with this? Belter.
And then that's where obviously the pantaloons come flying off, and she gets away, and just moving briefly.
Bianca just goes, "It's just a nunny, Lauren." It's Belter. I missed it in the watch through. I was like, why is everybody saying it's just a nunny? I was like, oh, that was Bianca's line.
And then she gives birth, and the baby doesn't respond to the start. He thinks Sonia's gonna die, and then Sonia wakes up, and the baby
rises up like the Undertaker.
And then she just gives birth, and she escapes happily. But would you know it? There is another victim that did not survive the Queen Vic explosion, and it's Reese. It's Reese. It's only Reese. We can leave it now. There's nothing else to discuss. I don't think, Ash. I think that's been a good podcast. What do you say?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's been a good podcast. Anyways, you're not here for that. You're here for one last topic, and that topic is Martin is dead body. The reason why it's titled this is because it's an inside joke, technically, that we've had with a fellow watcher for a couple of years now. and his name is Chicken Nugget Lover 69. Why am I pressing the 2? 45. Right. So yeah, let's just start now. So yeah, Martin, everyone's trapped inside, but Martin lifts a bit of plywood, and he basically ushers everyone out. Everyone gets out. Ruby's like, "Come on, Martin, you can leave with us." She's like, "I'm not leaving without Stace." And then he goes into the bathroom where Stacey is. He saves her. He goes into the bathroom. He saves Stacey, and Stacey's like, "You know what, Martin? I love you. Now's the perfect time to talk about this." And Martin's like, the thing is collapsing. Like, the entire fic is collapsing, and Stacey's like, "Yeah, let's just talk about it."
Yeah, but I need to know how you feel. It's like, okay, yeah, let's just stop escaping this building that's exploded. We've already avoided dying so far, but let's just slow it all down so we can slowly talk about our feelings whilst we might potentially die.
Yeah, and they try to leave, but a giant debris bomb goes off and they go flying. As more...
That is that the official term? Debris bomb.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know. It's like, yeah, it's just some dust, some rocks fall, something like that.
And then and then they do escape. They go to the cellar to leave, and Stacey is like, "Come on, Martin, do you love me?" And it's like, "I do, yeah, I do, Stacey, yeah, I do love you." And then, wouldn't you know,
perfect time for just one thing: have a little smooch, have a little smoochy poo.
And then he throws he throws Stacey to the barrels as a beam comes flying down and crushes his pelvis. And
if only Futurama existed in this universe, he'd get that girder right off you. Did somebody say Bender? Smash. Martin's safe.
And then throughout the live episode, there's a giant beam stuck on his pelvis. My dad made a joke that if he got a stiffy, he could get it off, but still, that was the joke that everyone was making in the chat as well. So I think my dad was just watching the chat.
Something sausage surprise.
Yeah, and yeah, basically Martin's hooked on morphine, and he's like, "Stace, I love you, Stace. I never want to let go of you, Stace. You're always the one. Will you marry me? I'm gonna say my wedding vows." Stacey's like, "What's this all about?" And then I want you to do the scene. I want you to do the scene with the paramedic and Stacey, please.
I'm an actor now.
Yeah, go on.
I'm locked in. The Stacey starts to realize that the paramedics are kind of like, is it the ambulance at this point, or is it just paramedics?
It's paramedics.
Yeah, it's paramedics. At this point, they've kind of figured out, like, Stacey's realized that they're not exactly trying to move forward. They're just kind of like, "Oh, Jesus, we kind of need to do something, but we also don't really know what to do. We don't know if we're best for him." And she asks him what's happening, and he says, "Yeah, he's got sudden crush syndrome." And Stacey says, "What's sudden crush syndrome?" And the paramedic says, "Well, he's been crushed, hasn't he?" Basically, like it's the shittest. Obviously, it's the answer she asked for, but like, I'm sure she could have pieced it together. Like, it is an answer, but it's not the answer you want. And essentially, at this point, they kind of mention how sudden crush syndrome is a very real thing. The shock of trying to remove it could, like, cause a cardiac arrest, could cause a heart attack, could cause massive liver damage. Like, the body might not be able to manage having it be taken off.
Just leave the beam on him, he'll be fine. Just wheel it around, you know. And then basically they lift the beam. Martin has a heart attack, and as Sonia is talking to the baby, we get a lovely speech. She welcomes. Now I think this is the right choice because I think Julia's theme plays, but the baby.
Yes.
The second thought was, you get to choose like the name of the baby, Julia or Tony. And as she's given like the speech, She calls it Julia, and then we cut to Julia's theme as Stacey screams. It's only there. The Julia's theme only appears for like 10 seconds. I was going to make
we do a full version.
I was going to get Ash to do the 10 seconds of Julie's thing, but I know he doesn't want to do that. But I will try and ask him, see can he very quickly do it. And this podcast is over. I want 10 seconds of Julie's theme to Martin. He has passed. Now this has left a lot of fans in uproar, from what I've been told from the community manager, Mr. AquaDreams.
Yeah, honestly, it's a big death. It's a big death to mark the end of the 40th anniversary, right? A week that initially, if you asked a month ago if the 40th anniversary was going to be how it was, you'd say no way, because the episodes weren't great, and it was really a slow burn till the week before where it suddenly peaked up. And I mean, I even politely released a video just before the 40th anniversary saying this will be the golden era that never was for Chris Crenshaw. And hey, now we can have that conversation. Now we can have that conversation. No, we won't. That'll be next week. But it's a big, bold exit for this 40th. It's a genuine legacy character who dies, and now we can generally piece together. It felt like James By wanted to leave, and they went, "All right, sound 40th anniversary. You're gonna die. Going to be a big death. You're going to be reunited with Stacey at last, and it'll be huge." And I don't know. It's a really strange one because it's a big death. I do agree, but even as a Martin Fowler stan, even as Martin Fowler, probably one of my favorite EastEnders characters of all time, I'm just kind of like, it was probably time. It was probably time. But genuinely, the outroar I've seen about it has surprised me. I didn't think Martin was this beloved. People have been comparing it to killing off Pat. People have been comparing it to be this really big, impactful death that we're never gonna get to see. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. At the end of the day, Martin has a legacy. He has kids. He's had multiple kids, and just like how Pauline and Arthur have always generally been a part of the show, even though they've departed, Martin will still live on in the show. He is that kind of Pete Beale type character who at some point, and what I'd probably argue, and I definitely have, I'd argue that, James By, who kind of invigorated the Martin Fowler character with a recast, made it his own for sure. He kind of I always viewed him as a guy who would probably have a job for life in the show. I thought he'd be there till he's 80. We get to see him slowly morph into Arthur in his later days. He gets more lethargic and has that Arthur Pauline sort of relationship with Stacey, for example. And it is a really bold choice to kill him off because yes, it is a shame we won't ever get to see him be like Arthur. We won't ever get to see him morph into that sort of character. But still, I just don't I'd argue Martin was one of those background characters, right? All soaps have them. You need those background characters who keep the show ticking. Every couple of years, they get a big storyline that reminds you that they are really good and you do love them. Just like Jean, for example. Obviously, different parts in time. Jean's a much older character, gets much different stories, but still, he is there to every couple of years gets a big storyline and reminds you that Martin Fowler still exists, and therefore, whenever he leaves, you end up missing him. But I'd still argue that Martin's best years are behind him, and I don't necessarily I don't necessarily agree with how. I think it's cool that it's had such a big reaction, but fundamentally, I just don't believe it's. I just believe it's the right time for Martin at the end of the day. Might be a hot take, but I think this is a perfectly timed exit for the character.
And very quickly, I'm not making this a timestamp, this is just going to be added on to the Martin stuff. Who does Denise choose? She chose Jack. That was the vote. Everyone voted for Jack.
And the crowd went mild.
Jack was given barely any lines. His only line was, I'm Jack Braddon, 49. How are you? They learned it from the last live episode. And now I guess it's time for the awards.
I mean, I suppose a final bit on that Martin stuff, though, that I do want to say is it also didn't land for me because I'm not a Stacey and Martin stan, and I hated their relationship at all points in time. I have never enjoyed Stacey and Martin. I didn't like their dynamic. I didn't like how the bulk of the 2010s, it was just Stacey screaming at Martin for not being good enough despite trying his best. And that was their relationship. So to have it be this doomed twist of fate at the end that they were always meant to be together, I firmly disagree. I loved Martin and Ruby just because Martin was finally getting to be with someone who wasn't Stacey at the end. So yeah, it's just kind of a obviously you couldn't have done it with Ruby because they weren't soulmates either, but that's why it didn't land for me. But I still think it's a really good death in the grand scheme of things. A really bold statement for the 40th, and obviously all the content coming around this time. We'll talk about it in more detail.
Yeah, and I guess now it's just time for the awards, and I'll give my thoughts afterwards. Just very quickly, let's go through the awards. Can you list them off as I do the title for this?
You have the Keanu Taylor Award of Excellence for the most wooden. It's more of a jokey one at this point. We don't really take the award seriously, but hey, It's our awards. If you want better awards, go to somewhere else. We have the Who's the Most Underrated and Who Needs Slapping Down.
Okay, gonna go first. Who's the most wooden for you?
The steel beam, of course, that held Martin to the ground. Or just any of the rubble, either or. Always, all of the above works.
Most wooden for me, I know it's not wooden, it's cast iron or it's plastic. The bath, obviously. What else would it be?
Probably ceramic.
Yeah, most underrated for you?
Underrated in the live? I don't even know. Nicola for calling Bernie Frankie. That was fun.
Again, Reese's death. That's my underrated award. And who needs slapping down? Reese.
Stacey.
Yeah.
Stacey deciding she needs to talk about her and Martin. Obviously, it's the idea that if they didn't talk about it now, they never would, and they just go back to acting like everything was normal. But still, you can't. Yeah, Stacey will grieve, and she is allowed to grieve, but also she needs to remember that she fucking stopped them from leaving. Like, she stopped them from leaving as quickly as they could have. Stacey could have been screaming for help consistently, but instead they have to talk about their feelings. You caused his death. She didn't. She caused his death.
And that has been the Watching Walford podcast, episode 112. Any final thoughts, or shall we just send it off to you?
I mean, at the end of the day, it was a really successful 40th anniversary, and I look forward to discussing the aftermath, the impact, and just generally now piecing together, because at this point in time, we're now moving towards EastEnders without Chris Crenshaw at the helm. And we'll still discuss his impact at a later date, but now we are heading into uncharted territory. How will EastEnders look like in a year? Now we genuinely can't tell you. That's the next thing you look forward to, and that's the next thing that's going to be really exciting to pick apart and go through.
Yeah, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.